All right, good evening and welcome to Tuesday night, Mate to Mate at 8. My name is Craig Turton, your proud host for tonight. I'm also the co-founder of 100 Words Mate to Mate, a men's health organisation that is doing some great things in the community, trying to raise awareness about men's mental health and trying to reduce the stigma around mental health in this country. In the times that we're travelling through at the moment, it's really, really tough. It is very, very, very important for you to reach out to your mates. And that's what we are trying to do here tonight. We're trying to mirror a conversation between two mates. About 12 weeks ago, we started a campaign called Mate to Mate at 8. So at either 8 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock at night, we want you to ring your mate and ask him this. Don't say, how you going? We want you to ask this. G'day, mate. How's your day been out of 10? He'll give you a number and you'll have a much better indication on how he's actually going. He will in turn ask you, and then you'll be able to share a conversation openly and honestly. Now, when you sign in tonight, tell us how your day's going out of 10, okay? And hopefully we'll make it even better than it currently is. All right, we've already had people jump on. Now we've got some people that are on an 8. We've got a few people on a 4. Okay, so those people on a 4, hats off to you for jumping on tonight. Okay, it's really important that when you are, having a rough day, that you get on, be really open and honest, like you have been there right then. Hopefully, after this, you'll be feeling a lot better. If you're not, go to 100words.com.au, send us a message, and I'll get in contact with you. Okay, so tonight's all about mirroring a conversation between two blokes. So, at any time throughout this conversation, you're feeling a bit, you're not feeling great, and you need someone to talk to, there is always someone to talk to at Lifeline. Their number is 131114. There was always someone there to pick up the phone for you. So you're never, ever, ever alone. Now, as I say each and every week, I'm a tradesman. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. All I'm doing, and all we do here at 100 Words, is try to educate people on how to talk to their mates and get the information out of them. Okay. All right. So tonight we are really, really lucky tonight. A dear friend of mine, Mr. Phil Robison, who, mate, over the last 3 or 4 years, probably 5 years now, has been through a hell of a lot. He's had prostate cancer. He's still having difficulties with that today. He's suffered deeply with depression and anxiety, and also gone through a separation and divorce. A lot of stuff that a lot of men go through individually, but to go through them all like this. He's also, I caught up with him. Here he is. There is the great man. Hello, Phil. Thanks for your time tonight, mate.
Hello there, Turts, and it's always a pleasure to you. And I must ask you a very important question before we kick off with the viewers.
Shoot, mate. Go.
How's your day been out of 10, mate?
Mate, that's my line for you.
No, come on, brother.
I know. Hey, look, mate, I had a pretty good day. I was flying. I was about an 8 until I got to kids' footy training tonight. And Daniel Andrews told me the girls couldn't play footy this weekend. And 4 girls rocked up to training in tears. And I nearly cried myself, mate. I'm gutted for the girls that we can't play footy this weekend. So I went from an 8 down to a 5. But I've seen your pretty little face and I'm back up to an 8, mate. So what about you, mate? How was your day out of 10?
Well, I've actually had a spectacular day. As you know, I did the Mercy run up to Albury yesterday because I'm a regional buyer's agent. So I buy properties interstate and all over Victoria. But I really like Albury at the moment. So I dropped everything yesterday because I've got some clients I need to act for. So I jumped in the car, had to get into New South Wales before midnight, which I managed to do yesterday. Got out there late afternoon, had an incredible day, saw some great properties today, and ducked back over the border and got here. And so I'd have to say it was an 8. It could have been a 10 if I had more time, but it was just a really, really great day.
Good on you, mate. I really appreciate your time tonight, and I know you've been looking forward to this, and we've been talking about putting this together for quite a while. Now, mate, tell the viewers, tell us a little bit about you, mate. That's how we always start. So tell us everyone a bit about you and what you've been through, mate, with your prostate cancer and your separation, your 2 boys, and just tell everyone about yourself.
Sure. Well, my background was as a mortgage broker. So I was a mortgage broker for 19 years, had a very successful business in Kew and Hawthorn that was flying. Little thing called the GFC of 2008 came along, skittled my business. Revenue dropped overnight by 70%. Had a nice home in Kew, thought I was pretty cool. Had a nice beach house in Blairgowrie down the coast, thought I was travelling really well, and of course the rug got pulled from under me. Had a lot of fixed overheads, mate, kids in a nice private school, had all the trimmings or the trappings perhaps. of at least outwardly a nice lifestyle. But of course, when you've got significant overheads that you can't just say, oh, well, I'll just get rid of that. And you've got rent to pay, staff to pay, cars in negative equity with leases that you've just taken out. So that put me under a significant amount of stress, and which I'm sure we'll talk about my diagnosis. And that was one of the things that was, and you know how I feel. You and I've been very open as a couple of mates over beers before, where I'm a really strong believer that I manifested my cancer as a result of the huge amount of stress and not really being able to deal with it properly. So that was a really, really very, and quite unusually, most blokes would say, yeah, but prostate cancer, that's an older bloke's disease, isn't it, Phil? Well, interestingly, it's not, unfortunately. And my urologist, who's a brilliant man, only in his 40s himself, when I went for one of my checkups, he said, mate, I've had 6 blokes this week that I've operated on, and they're all in their 40s. So unfortunately, we as men are compartmentalising things and we're burying them. And prostates are very much related to that. So I think it's a topic that's very close to me. It's a topic that's very close to a lot of men because it's a very personal journey.
Yeah.
And it's a very emotive journey for men. It brings up a lot of things. So, mate, it's an absolute honour to be here to talk about this, and more than happy to always, as you know, because you know me well, to talk to men offline. I talk to a lot of men about prostate cancer prevention, and if they've got a diagnosis, what the journey is like, what to expect emotionally and physically.
I think that's really important for guys to know that, and what the journey entails moving forward. Now, just go back and say we hadn't seen each other for many, many years. We've got a mutual friend. We hadn't seen each other for years, but we met each other again at the Mitcham event, which we had last year for about 160 blokes. And you came up to me and goes, Turts. I'm like, oh my God, it was so good to see you. We hadn't, and there you are. You've got your cap on that I gave you on the night. Good on you, buddy. And it was amazing that, you know, we hadn't seen each other for so long. And since then, you have been so raw, open and honest about everything that you've gone through. And I know the way you are in being so open and honest helps you. And mate, it's a real privilege to get you on tonight. Now, mate, you had, as you said, you've been through the ringer, mate. You've had it all in the last sort of 4 or 5 years. On paper, mate, it would have looked as though, as you said, you were flying, yet underneath, obviously, things were shit. And it just, the rest of everything just got too much.
Yeah, like I'm a uni dropout. I went to university, started economics at Monash, got good grades out of doing HSC back in the 80s, and got lost along the journey. And I really did get lost. And so I went into sales, and I equated success with money. And I worked very, very hard as a salesperson and had what I would say is some decent success. And so that was my way of perhaps making up for what I would call some of my failings. And my way of trying to have people like me and to impress people was to have toys and belongings and a beautiful home, travel, nice cars. But I very much did get lost, and I think I got confused. And probably the prostate cancer for me actually has been the greatest gift. And some people say, mate, why would you want to have cancer? Because it's made me into the man that I am today. And it's giving me the opportunity to make a massive difference, as you know, globally with the things we'll talk about. So, and I'm happy to talk about all the things that you and I have talked about around cancer and some of the challenges and depression, as we've talked about, in my separation, in my marriage and my divorce, and also the physical separation of no longer living with my boys, which, you know, I often say to people, it's like being stabbed. You know, that's probably one of the hardest things. You know, F the money, quite frankly. I'd rather just have time with my kids. So, and I don't live with my boys, and I find that very, very difficult, and I still struggle. So this is an ongoing journey. Whilst I am in good shape and I'm having an 8, I have plenty of days where part of my day might be a 2, and I have to really, really consciously focus on the good things that are in my life, because there's always, I love the great line of Les Brown. I don't know if you know, heard of Les Brown out of the US, and he says, well, if you can look up, you can get up. And I really like that. If you can look up, you can get up. And so I'm using a lot of strategies that have really helped me, and a lot of exercise is one, and walking, as you know, is something that I do a lot of. I used to walk 13 Ks every morning. It was kind of a way for me to deal with some of the pain and the anxiety, quite meditative for me to do that. So that was really, really, really important for me.
Yeah, mate, I get a lot of guys tell me that throughout a separation and a divorce, they go from having being part of the family structure, so they know their role and what they're expected to do. But when the separation, they don't have the kids. It's like, what the fuck do I do? I'm here by myself. I've got no structure, no routine. I don't know where I sit. I see the kids here, there, and everywhere. And that structure and loss of routine and loss of purpose and function within the family is what I constantly get told just drives blokes mad. It's just, that's the bit that gets them, and the bit they didn't think about when they got divorced and separated. That's the bit that shocks them the most, the lack of purpose. And that must be so hard, mate.
Yeah, there's no doubt I feel displaced.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like I parent anymore. I'm more just the taxi, or I pick up one of my sons. My other son, my eldest, has his license. So I don't really feel like, it's not like I come home at the end of the day and we sit around the table and have dinner, or I talk to the boys. So look, I completely, understand that. And whilst I'm generally a pretty positive and up person, they are the things that I can understand and appreciate and respect the difficulty that men have when you choose to leave a marriage, or a marriage breaks up. That is really a very, very significant battle, and that's a daily battle, because you really are. You're just kind of like you're lost at sea, because you don't know what your role is anymore.
And I think that's where, we spoke to Darren Comp last week about men's single dads website that he got on, just helped him so much and taught him about how to cook and nutrition for the kids, because one of his boys is an athlete. And he found that really, really helpful. And then he started mentoring other men and started up his amazing foundation. And mate, you're the same. You are someone who wants to give back. You're an infectious person. Now, we are going to touch on the whole, you had your little time in the sun, and this is, I think, is indicative of you, right? And this is the way, when you're growing up, this is what you would have been. You were that larrikin, and you had your 5 minutes of fame on the footy show, where you were the guy who, anyone who's my age and your age will know, you tell the story. You tell it better than I
do. My football club, which is Old Trinity, we had a Veterans and Legends Day, and we put on a few barrels, and we had quite a crowd of people, and there were parents there, and it was the end of the season, and they thought it'd be great for the older guys to have a game, so Veterans versus Legends. And I was actually the commentator, so a mate of mine and I were the two commentators, and came to 3/4 time, and we'd been laughing about it. We had a few shorts throughout the day, I will say. By 3/4 time, I disappeared, and I've come back out in a balaclava only, and run down the players' race, and there was a lot of people laughing and cheering. I must admit, I wasn't running very straight for obvious reasons, I should say.
You're right.
I got a handball 10.5 forward off my best mate, my best man, and I proceeded to kick the ball without being. I kicked it over 50 metres, bare feet, post high. High five, my mate.
It gets longer and higher every time I talk to you.
Well, I did have Trevor Marmalade behind the bar say to Eddie Maguire, and it was actually the very first season of the footy show, and he said to Eddie Maguire, Eddie, that is not a fit backside. You could show a drive-in movie on that. But it was I did it because I notoriety, people talked about it. I still get people sending me stuff about it. Yeah, I liked to make people laugh, but that doesn't mean that they liked me, and I didn't necessarily feel liked by people. So I did things because I wanted people to, hey, what about me? Oh, he's a funny guy. And I talked to you offline before about my wedding. I've invited about 40 guys. My ex-wife had a lot of friends that came along from her side. And I found it so painful that 6 of the guys didn't invite me to their weddings. And I thought these were blokes who were mates of mine. And so, I'm a 53-year-old guy, and I still find things like that painful.
Yeah.
So I kind of think, did they think I was a joke?
Yeah. And did many of those guys, when you went through your cancer, did many of those guys reach out to you?
Oh, heaps, none.
Fair dinkum.
My cancer journey was very lonely.
Yeah.
I had a couple of really good close friends. One came and sat with me the night of the surgery. I mean, just an amazing fellow. Absolutely. And he had his own personal journey with kidney issues. Just an incredible man. Sat for 3 hours prior to my surgery. It was actually the night before the Lint shooting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, sitting in the hospital. He was an amazing friend. So it was a very lonesome journey for me. Yeah. That's okay.
Did the cancer and what you went through there contribute to what was going on at home and your depression?
Probably just made it worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you felt as though you were alone?
Yeah. Yeah, like being wheeled into surgery. You're surviving on adrenaline. Your wife doesn't, I mean, I've got an amazing girlfriend. She's watching. I've got an amazing girlfriend and partner now. And yeah, you've been wielding. And my ex-wife's a great person. Please, that's not. But unfortunately, our friendship just we got lost. Yeah. And a wonderful mother. But you're very, very vulnerable. You're very lonely. You're going in for cancer surgery, and you would hope your partner would say, "I really love you. I'm going to be here on the other side for you." And unfortunately, that was just where we were at that point. And again, I reiterate, she is a good person, a very good person, and a great mother.
That's hard. It's hard to cop, mate. It's hard to. Was it hard to talk about with your mates? Did they want to talk about it, or you don't want to shut down? Because you're a really open and honest guy. I'd imagine you'd be happy to talk about it. It's whether or not they were.
Nobody really, I think, rang me up.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. You and I have spoken about this. Quite often, it's people that don't know you are more comfortable to talk to you, or you're more comfortable to talk to them. I'm very open with this stuff. I'm very open specifically because it does help me. It does heal me. And anything I can do that takes, and one of the words of advice I give to men who are suffering is when you take the focus off yourself and you find something externally to put that focus on, which is to help, like you say, ring up a mate at 8 and how's your day? And maybe you just listen. I think, because one of the things, by the way, is us as blokes, we worry, what if the guy is having a shit day and am I expected to solve it? Because we're problem solvers. And we're not. Sometimes it's just listening.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I found it difficult, painful that I probably didn't have close friends. I probably would say I have a lot of acquaintances, but I don't have many close friends.
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
Hurtful. Yeah, it's very painful.
Because you're a giving guy, mate. You're a big giver, and and part of this interview and what you do is about sharing your journey with other people so that they will benefit from it. So wouldn't it have been great when you were going through the shit that you went through that someone was open and honest that you could call or speak to and let them tell you some information on how it was going to be? So that's credit to you that you are prepared to do this, mate, because it's hard. I know it is for you.
Yeah, it's the gift that I like to think that I can contribute with. I mean, I've got different businesses that I'm involved with, and one of my coaches out of London, she said, Phil, the pain of your divorce, your separation from your boys, your cancer journey, all the things that you've dealt with. She says it's not punishment, mate. It's preparation for the man you need to be to lead the community that you're building.
Yeah,
and that's the way I look at it. It's a gift. These are gifts to me. Doesn't always make it easy, but no. I see them as gifts so that I can do the things that I need to do.
But there are choices as well. I know we talked about the funeral that I went to a couple of months ago now, and I heard a prayer for the first time. I never heard it, called the dash, which is the dash between the day you were born, so for me, 1973, and then the dash, and then the year that you passed, which hopefully for me will be 2090, let's say. But that dash is the bit you can control. And we talked about that. That's your legacy. That's what people, when they go to your funeral, that's what they fucking talk about. They go, Phil did. Craig did. He made an effort and he changed people's life and he helped. That's the bit that you can control. And that's what I think you're doing a fantastic job of doing. The cards haven't fallen your way up until now, but it's what you do from this point on, when you do go in a long time, that's what people will talk about, what you did from that point on. And I think that's really important. I think that's what blokes lose perspective of. And when it's going downhill, it's easy to go, fuck it, just let it go downhill, because it's too hard. But you need to stop. And a lot of the guys that we've spoken to over the last 8 or 10 weeks, particularly, Nathan Burke rings a bell for me saying, you need to stop. Okay? You might have had a bad first quarter. Doesn't mean you have a bad game. And I think what you're doing, mate, it's really powerful, and my hat goes off to you.
No, thanks, Toots. There's plenty of times that I've wanted to just drop the bundle and run away. And I've had all sorts of destructive thoughts about my life. And would people come to my funeral? Who would go? What would they say about me?
Yep.
And so you and I, again, have talked about this, mate, over a beer, where for me, I want my boys to be proud of me, and I want my boys to look back and say, it was all right, the old man, wasn't he? He was a good man. He had his reasons why he didn't abandon us. He had his reasons why he had to do what he had to do.
Yeah, and that's powerful, man. That's what you want. You've got the choice to make that happen, to make the boys proud of you, and I know they are. Would it be fair to say that you parent differently to the way you were parented? And most blokes our age do that. Is that the way you do it?
Very different from my father. My father was one of 3 boys, the youngest of 3 boys. His dad died early 50s, I believe, from a heart attack. And I'm sure my father was never told, hey, you're a great son, you're good at this. He was often on his own. So I'm sure no one ever said, I love you.
Yeah.
I know he's never said it to me, but I understand that now, because he just doesn't understand. He just doesn't have that. So yeah, I definitely parent very differently. I kiss my boys all the time. I constantly tell them how proud I am of them. I tell them how much I love them, because who knows? Tomorrow I could be taken from them, or something could happen, and I just wouldn't want to leave that stone unturned. One thing I would say is, you talked about the dash, which my partner actually introduced that fantastic poem to me, is it's our movie. So if you don't like, and I heard this one from Brian Tracy, who's a motivational speaker around high performance and sales. And he says, if you don't like your movie, change the script.
Yeah.
Rewrite it. Write a new script.
Yep.
You don't have to settle for, like Nathan Burke said, mate, it's the end of the first quarter, doesn't define the rest of the game. You have a choice.
Yep.
It's what you do with the information will create the results.
Yeah. Now, mate, I know you've had 4 of your mates take their own life. How's that affected you?
Yeah, well, it's driven me, actually. I'm part of a global affiliate marketing business, as you know, and I did a course called the Brand Incubator, where you learn about your values. And it really did, what came through for that course from me was just, and in fact, a mate of mine's been posting pictures from the 80s of some of these guys, they just happen to be in the pictures. And I look back and that really drives me, because one of them was actually my best mate, and went to a great school. He was a great athlete, great footballer, great tennis player, won the AGSV 110 metres hurdles, killed it with the girls, did have his downsides, barracked for the Blues. So, that's... Hey. Yeah, it's all right. So, but an incredible guy. I mean, I went to a good school, and 4 guys from that school, a well-known school in Melbourne, take their lives. And it's like, and of course their parents have to deal with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, those things drive me, because every life's important. Right now we've got this thing about Black Lives Matter, and they do matter. But my attitude is all lives matter.
Yeah.
And that drives me in the foundation and the stuff that I'm building globally, because I want to connect men and women all over the world. That's a real driver for me.
Yeah. Mate, tell us a bit about Saving Brothers. I know you're doing a lot of work there. Tell us.
Yeah, I went to a prostate. I play cricket for Q in Vets, and we went to an ECA cricket dinner at the old Colombo's before that went to God, And Bill Laurie was the guest speaker. Unfortunately, on the night, his wife was taken ill. And I was sitting next to a mate of mine, and I said, I really want to make a difference. It was a prostate cancer dinner. And Parko was there, David Parkin, and he ended up actually having to speak. And I said, I just want to make a difference. This is driving me. And he said, mate, you're just like you want to save brothers. I said, mate, Pete, that's it, buddy.
That's it, yeah.
So saving brothers is, I've got a lot of contacts around the world in different areas of allied health. So what I've done is I've been reaching out to my contacts around cancer, around diabetes, around depression, around high performance coaching, around drug addiction, around dementia, many subjects that relate to men. And I'm building a global entity called Saving Brothers. The tagline is You Matter, and it addresses health, self, and wealth. And we're also building out to have global ambassadors. But I'm also doing it with ladies as well now, because it's very important that women are there. What happens is when a man gets a diagnosis or he's struggling, and let's agree right now, the world is on a knife edge.
Yeah.
People's volatility in terms of their job, stability, stress in the home. It's really, really important that we do have women supported and women understanding how to help and reach their men. So for me, I'm building a global entity, and I've got men and women on board from 18 countries so far. We'll launch on the 1st of October. I have a lot of information and a lot of opportunity for people to be involved. You and I are going to be working together, 100 words. You and I have talked about doing stuff together around helping people in the bush, connecting those with people in the city.
Yeah, I think that's a really exciting thing that you and I have talked about, and I talked about with Walty the other day, is about getting the guys from the bush who have been through drought, bushfires, just those poor guys and girls just struggling so much. And the sense, what you talked about before, the sense of no one caring or no one listening. We'd love to get a group of guys from the bush and a group of guys from the city who are struggling just as much. Doesn't matter where you're from. There's guys in the bush and guys in the CBD that are struggling. Pair them up in like a buddy system. First 6 months of the year, we'll go to the bush and have a big function, and then we'll come to the city and have a function. I think it's got some real legs, and I think we need to talk more about that and get that up and running. But mate, what do you do now? You talked about you're walking. I know when we were going to the gym, you'd finish the gym and then take Milo for a 13K walk and walk the poor little bastard's legs off. Your walking's really important to you, isn't it? Just to be able to go and clear the head. Yeah,
and sometimes I listen to podcasts and motivation, sometimes music, but I do a lot of my creative thinking, and it's very meditative for me to walk.
Yep.
So a lot of my concepts around Saving Brothers and Keep 5 Alive, which is one of our programs, about 5 men helping 5 men to help 5 men, and we teach them all using our digital assets, which you take that down 11 levels, gets to 244 million men. So walking's important to me.
Yeah.
Walking it's easy.
Yep.
A lot of blokes don't want to, it's free, and you're out in nature, so you hear the birds, and I think it's really, really cathartic. It's very, very, it's a great, and if you've got a dog, I'd encourage guys to walk with a dog, and get up. I do it early in the morning, so I like to leave early, and again, it's not always about running, because I used to run marathons in my 30s. You don't even have to be running, just movement is important.
Yeah. And you do a bit of yoga now, a bit of stretching?
I do yoga. And again, I use an app called Asana Rebel. I think it's about $40 or $50. It's really simple. You just follow it along, you just on your phone. Very simple. I've been doing meditation since my 20s, transcendental meditation. Yep. And I find, again, that's really helpful. So this is about areas of balance. I do have a coach around diet. I'm not always, I am prone to being a bit naughty, and I think she gets a bit frustrated with me. And I went to the winery, she was my partner 2 weeks ago, and she's basically got the book and thrown it out. So we'll write this week off, won't we, Phil? And I like to have a good time. So again, it's about some balance.
We talked about the lack of purpose causing issues with men.
Yeah, absolutely. Men get lost.
Yeah.
They really do. And I was the perfect example, mate. I was just wanting to impress people by having a nice convertible BMW, a beautiful big home, and all these toys. look at me syndrome.
Yep.
But we do get lost, and we lose a sense of purpose. And men do talk about that midlife crisis. What am I doing this for? You said it before, Terts. What's my legacy going to be? What are people going to say about me? What was it all for? Was it just to get something else, have something more?
Yep.
And I think really, and that's why I'm excited about Saving Brothers and working with you guys, because we're standing for something, and there's nothing better. And Tony Robbins used to say about Mother Teresa that yes, she ministered to people in the squalors of Calcutta, but she got something intrinsically good from doing so. She felt good about herself.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say. Get engaged with 100 words and get on board with Saving Brothers, because when you take the focus off yourself, you start to create a purpose again.
Yeah. Invest
in others.
Exactly. But talking about it, and every guy we've had on, we've had a range of different guys on through businessmen, people who suffer from depression, guys who have tried to take their own life. And every one of them, every week on this show, says that the ability for them to talk openly and honestly helps them and therefore helps others. It's an extremely powerful thing that you guys and every guy we've had on this show has done. It's extremely powerful. So the more guys that listen to it and do it, it's really, really important. And that's the whole preface behind what we're trying to do at 100 words. Mate to mate at 8, just ring your mate at 8 o'clock. Right? Just make it part of your routine. Everyone's routine is stuffed. Right? We can't go to the gym as of bloody tomorrow night. Everything's up the creek. All right. But one thing you can control is you can ring a mate every day and just ask the question, mate, how's your day out of 10? Tell me about it. It's just the fact that you're prepared to listen.
What I'd encourage blokes to do is actually put it in your Apple phone or your Android as a reminder.
Yep.
And almost treat it like a business transaction. Who's the mate that I'm going to ring today?
Correct.
Because it's very easy to do.
Yep. But
do you know what? It's easy not to do.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's like, no, I got busy. Okay, you made a choice.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you just made a choice. That's all. But you'll feel better when you don't feel like doing it and you did do it.
Yeah. We, at one of our functions, we stood up and said, pull out your phone, go through, and your heart will tell you when there's a mate that you need to ring. You know, came back about 5 minutes later. I said, who got past the letter A? Most people. Who got past the letter B? Yeah. Who got past the letter C? Not one person got past the letter C. So I said, well, hang on. We're 3 letters in. There's 23 left. And everyone in this room of 160 blokes has found someone in the first 3 letters of the alphabet that they need to ring. At this rate, you're going to make 9 calls in 9 different days. And it's staggering. If you actually stop and do that exercise and go through your phone, you'd be surprised how many blokes you know in your heart you need to ring. So my question is, just ring them. Just ring them.
And sometimes I'd say, don't think about it too much. Like, just do it.
John Kennedy, mate. Don't think, do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great man passed last week. There's a lot of merit in that. Now, mate, we've got a couple of questions here. How do people get involved in Saving Brothers? Because it's going to be huge.
Yeah, Saving Brothers we're going to do a big launch. We're going to have a global launch, and it's going to be very exciting because I've got Indigenous men, I've got men from all over the world, and we haven't really started, and we've got men from 18 countries and women. What we'll end up doing is a social media launch where men will get an opportunity to use their phone, do a 1-minute video. Hi, just shout out to the guys at Saving Brothers, doing an amazing job. Say, I keep 5 alive and tag 5 friends. We know with men, don't make it hard. Just make it easy. Yeah, so about 4 to 6 weeks prior to the 1st of October, and there'll be a lot of social media stuff. There'll be stuff on LinkedIn, Facebook. It'll be all over the world. So I'd say just stand by. And if anybody wants to get involved with you and I in that and with 100 words, just drop it in the chat. I'm more than happy to talk to anyone offline. And I'm also available, as I know you are, Terts. If anyone wants to talk about cancer stuff, depression, I'm often, men are given my number. If they're worried about a friend who's had the diagnosis, I'm open to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And meet with them. And if it has to be on Zoom at the moment, I'm happy to do it. But Saving Brothers, just look out for it. It's coming. It's 1st of October will be the launch.
Yep. And mate, what you'd be happy to people to give you a call too. I know going through the divorce is it's uncertain, hard.
You know the answer, of course.
Yeah.
I'm here for my brothers.
Yep.
I'm here for my brothers.
Mate, it means a lot. And same with Darren last week. Going through this is really, really hard. It's really personal. And there's, we're looking at running a night where we've got guys, I know I've spoken to you about this, that have just recently become divorced and separated, and guys who are 2 or 3 years down the track. And just getting the guys in the room to be able to talk about it will be really, really powerful to say, hey, these are the mistakes that I made. And be able to learn from each other. And, mate, and the key to what you're doing, the key to what we're doing, is get guys in a comfortable environment and open them up. That's all we're trying to do. And none of what we've talked about tonight is brain surgery by fucking any stretch. All we're doing is an open and honest conversation. And I love you for it, mate. I'm really, really glad that you gave up your time tonight and jumped on.
Mate, look, it's a pleasure. You know that. And look, one of the things that I'd say is I love a good cry. And blokes often don't talk about that. I find it so cathartic. I found it so cleansing. There is nothing wrong. You are more of a man when you have a good cry.
Yeah. Mate, to give you, I cried 2 weeks ago. I was sitting there watching The Voice. And the kids and I play this game with a beautiful wife, and we just sit there with our eyes shut, and we open our eyes when we think, we would turn for the chair. And not one of the 4 judges turned, and I cried. I'm like, I was just so emotionally built up that I actually cried. And my daughter said to me, Dad, why are you crying? And I said to her, well, I didn't think, I thought she should have got in, should have got a chair turned. And then I went, and also, I'm just struggling, mate. I'm just, things are tough at the moment. I hear a lot of tough stories. And we end up turning off the TV and have the best chat. My daughters are 11 and 9. They get it. They already get it. We talk about 100 words a lot, and every day of the week, we go around the table asking each other how each other's day was out of 10. It's
that's a beautiful
part of their vocab now. It's great.
Yeah, I remember, look, one of the positives when I was married, we didn't do that, but what we used to do is every day around the dinner table, what was your highlight?
Yep.
What was your low light?
Yep.
But it was still conversational and did address those issues.
Yep. Mate, it's really important to do that, because the biggest killer of men between the age of 18 and 44 in this country is themselves. More men between 18 and 44 in this country will take their own life than any other way. It's getting worse, but guys like yourself, mate, and all the boys and the crew here at 100 Words, with people like that, none of us are in competition. We've all got the same goal and all just trying to help each other. So, mate, on behalf of myself, Walt, and all the boys at 100 Words, I could not be more pleased to have you on tonight. So thank you so much for your time, Robbo.
Turts, namaste.
Namaste, mate. Thank you so much, mate. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care, buddy. Ciao.
Yeah, bud. Hey, guys like Phil are really important in the community. They're open and they're honest, okay? And conversations like this they need to be had more, okay? So ring your mate, okay? We've got a couple of people that have just got on here and said, oh, great work tonight, gents. Thanks, Phil. Great talk. Well done. Get on and ring your mate at 8 o'clock, okay? Set yourself a goal tomorrow that I'm going to ring a mate at some stage tomorrow, all right? Ask him how his day's been out of 10. He'll ask you. Be interesting to see what you thought your day was. Okay, thank you so much. Now, next week, I got off the phone from a good friend of mine, Sam Groth, tennis superstar, earlier on tonight. He's on the way to the airport. Now, Sammy's trying to get over to America to do some, apparently there's a tournament over there. Only in America will there be a bloody tennis tournament. So he's trying to get over there. If he can get over there, he'll be a couple of weeks away. If he can't, he'll be in Melbourne next week, and he will jump on and be part of us. So really looking forward to that. Now, as we do each and every week. We thank those who do so much for us at 100 Words. On behalf of myself and the board, we'd like to thank Shelley Wood from Splice Communications. You want anything to do with communications, Shelley is the one for you. She does a huge amount of work for us, and we love her for it, and we are so proud of what she does. To Matt Atkin and the team at 61 Finance and Atlas Equipment Finance, the whole team there do a hell of a lot for 100 Words, and we could not be more grateful to them. And a dear friend of mine, Mr. Brett Phillips, who runs the only tennis show in this country called The First Serve, does a great job in the tennis community, and that's how we got on to Grothy. So big thanks to Brett and all the great work he's doing in the community for the tennis world. Look, hopefully we'll get Sam on next week. Otherwise, we're talking to a lot of people, and Berkey's happy to come on again in a couple of weeks as well. So I know today's been a big change. We all go into lockdown again. It is more and more and more important today than it was yesterday. Okay, ring a mate at 8, either in the morning or at night, or at any time. I don't care what time you ring. All right, just ring. All right, ask them how they're going out of 10. Guys, hope you have a great week. Stay safe. Look after those who you love, and we'll see you next week. Take care.